Good morning. We'll get the meeting started. So, can't believe we are already. This is going to be our 6th concert out of 8 tonight. I mean, it's just unbelievable how this is moving along and how successful everything's been with the concerts. And we're certainly expecting another big night, and we'll hear from Scott and Maggie in a little bit on the concerts. People ask me, well, how's this going for you? And I said, everything's going well. The thing I do really miss is that clock over there. So anyway, try to keep things scheduled. But with that, we'll start with the pledge of inspiration. Maggie. Tammy.
I gotta go make it up. Start with the pledge. To the flag of the United States of America. One nation. Good morning, everybody. I want to start today with something that you might not be aware of, but this month is Disability Pride Month. It's celebrated each July, and coincidentally, today, July 26th, is a celebration of Disability Independence Day, which is the day that President George Bush signed the American with Disabilities Act. So it's kind of coincidental. Disability Pride Month is a chance to accept and honor a person's uniqueness and seeing it in a natural and beautiful part of human diversity. It allows us to highlight the advancement of disability inclusion in America while acknowledging the growth we have yet to achieve. When it comes to creating an inclusive culture, individual disabilities are often overlooked. These are disabilities that aren't obvious to the naked eye, such as physical, mental conditions, and other health problems. For example, autism disorder, chronic pain, depression, even temporary disabilities, and the aging population. It's kind of interesting. There's a disability pride flag. And it had quite a few different designs apparently to begin with, but they ended up with a straight line design that was good for people with challenges with color, shape, movement, just a simple design. And each stripe stands for something. Green is for sensory disabilities, blue is for emotional and psychiatric disabilities, white is for non-visible and undiagnosed disabilities, gold is for neurodiversity, and red is for physical disabilities. And the reason I share this is because I think it just really brings about all the different things there are to pay attention to. So today, on July 26th, when the voices of people with disabilities are elevated, I challenge us to see all people's value and contributions, to listen to the stories of people's unique gifts and attributes, and advocate for appropriate accommodations to create a more inclusive path forward for all people. Today at the concert and throughout at the concerts, with our shirts, our Rotary shirts, and as we represent Rotary, use that to really look and see who needs help. If that food trucks are really high, some people can't reach them. They might be in a chair, they might have a walker, and please help them. I think it would be really neat if people could look at our t-shirt and see more than raising money, but to see a group there ready to help people. Especially with the big crowds, it can be really hard to navigate for some people. So really use your t-shirt. And I think we have one role called Social Roamer or something, and that's the ARC group. So we were thinking for that group particularly, because they're not as busy right at the beginning. Really look and see where you can help. And I'm going to work with Scott a little bit, and we're going to see if we can look at parking and some other things. So the one other thing we talked about, and I'll just bring up, and it's not as much with disabilities, but is for lost children, for lost people. And that's another thing, just kind of look for that. And we thought maybe if and I talked to Scott, but if the police tent is an area where you could send people, whether it's the parents or children. With all that, we do the 4-way test. with all these names and is the group. Is very officer.
Morning, everybody. We have some guests here, Julian Carlson, one of our exchange students. Rod Peterson over the corner brought the family, Tom Peterson and his brother, which is his brother, and then Nancy and Rod Peterson's parents. They're over there. And then we have the whole lots of them. Okay. Kate Van Horn. Or the Kate or Katie? Kate, okay, I wrote down right then. Yes, at least the Norton. And Greg Reinhardt's back, guest of Scott Gerlacher. All right, that's it. Lisa Wagner will help you know, will also on assignment this week.
Thanks, Tammy, for sharing that story, and welcome all the guests. You came at a good time. You get to hear today about a lot of different things that we do, and with our various functional areas and committees and things that what Rotary can do for you. And so this is a great meeting for you. Very excited to hear from Julian and all your wonderful experiences this past year. I'll kick off the big and announcements with something. I wanted to recognize Suzanne Kochibra this morning. Suzanne is being recognized as an honoree in a publication here in Minneapolis for her work with the Lake Street Project. This is sponsored by the Minneapolis Foundation that shines a light on the good things going on in Minneapolis and highlights organizations and its members. The Rotary Community Core within this, which you fell into, is Lake Street is a hyper-local project that emerged to revitalize the businesses damaged during the destruction. Short-term, the project uses the resources of 8 Rotary clubs to support businesses along Lake Street with help determined by their specific needs and their long-term goals. So let's recognize Suzanne for all the wonderful work. And that story will publish in here in Minneapolis on August 1st. So congratulations on that. So I'll invite others up for announcements. Maybe Scott, you want to start us off for us tonight?
Yeah, thanks, and I'll be brief because I know we have a kind of packed schedule this morning. So yeah, the storms are clearing away. It's going to be a beautiful, sultry night on the shores of Lake Ontario this evening. Looking forward to all your help. We are expecting a pretty large crowd. Hopefully similar to, somewhat hopefully similar to last year. That was a little out of control. But we raised a lot of money last week, and it'll all go to a good cause. This week, we do have one new addition because of the heat. Thanks to Mark and Laura for helping set this up with Pentair. They drove up a water refill station from Illinois, and they'll be bringing that down this morning. So we'll be able to park that probably somewhere around the pavilion. It'll have, I think, 300 gallons of fresh water, filtered water, so that people, if they are hot, us and the attendees can fill up their water bottles or refill their beer cups if they'd like to stay hydrated, which will be important on a hot night like tonight. Maggie, any updates on volunteers from you?
Just need second shift. I did.
All right, so ID and ticket sales second shift. Other than that, I think we're looking pretty solid for this evening and looking forward to a great night. Thanks, everybody.
Any other announcements? Okay. So.
I'm only doing this because if you want to be a great, sorry. If you want to be a great mom and dad, or aunt, uncle. I have 2 Taylor Swift tickets
Oh, my.
for her last US show. I'm giving away a year's worth of collagen. And from July 26th to August 1st, you will get to do an entry for the 2 tickets. And the concert is on August 9th. The second, you will also win ultimate other things, which is not only the tickets, you get $500 in a gift card for a B&B, Airbnb, and $500 for a Visa card for the flights. The only thing you have to do is put in a $99 order. So hopefully that would make a few children, even little boys, I understand. So I hope that you'll enjoy. Where is it? I'm sorry. I don't know.
Andrew Knack, First Thursday Chair. I am here to just remind everybody that Mark Peter just offered us to all see his house on August 3rd, 5 to 7. So we're gonna have some beer, some wine, appetizers, and hang out by the pool if the weather cooperates with us. So we're doing RSVP for the home editions for August and September. So if you can shoot me an email with how many guests you'll be bringing, that'll be perfect. So that way I can just keep a number and give Mark a heads up on how many people are gonna come trash his house. The second thing is, my chiropractic office is hosting a golfers mobility clinic. So this isn't just for golfers, but it's tailored towards golfers. So it's gonna be focused on lower body movements. So we're looking at hips, knees, ankles, making sure everything below the waist is moving properly. You guys will get 20-minute mobility session with me that I kind of guide you through, and then I partner with Stretch Lab, and they will give you a free 15 minutes one-on-one stretch at Stretch Labs Chanhassen. You'll be able to sign up for that on Thursday, August 10th. So it's hosted from 5 to 5:30 to 6:30, and then yeah. So if you want to come, just RSVP to the email on there. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew, and make sure you bring your bathing suits because we don't allow skinny dipping, okay? So is Pat Joyce here?
No, I'm gonna.
Okay, Laura, come on up. We're really looking forward to hearing from Julian Carlson. So thank you, Laura.
Good morning, I'm Laura Hatta. I'm the Youth Exchange Officer on the Youth Services Committee with Gary and a bunch of other fantastic people. Hope you can join us. I cannot believe it. It's literally seems like 5 minutes ago he was standing here and telling us about his adventure that lay ahead of him. And so I'm super happy to introduce Julian Carlson, who was our 22-23 outbound exchange student, and I'll let him fill in the details, but we're so happy you're back and can't wait to hear. So thanks.
Okay, everyone, okay. So I'm gonna apologize in advance, I'm a little bit congested, so I'll try to, this is best as I can. My name is Julian Carlson. I was last year's outbound exchange student from the Lake Minnetonka Excelsior Rotary Club to Belgium. Also, this presentation is not the right one. I had to pull one that I made in French, so. But just the photos, and so like I said, I just went to Belgium for a year to the French part of Belgium, and it was, of course, the best year of my life. I can't really put into words how much it meant for me, and to have the support of the Rotary, both here from the district, North Star Rotary Youth Exchange, And from my hosting, receiving Rotary in Belgium, as well as the other exchange students, I got to see kind of the beauty of all of Rotary, how it worked together, both as a force for volunteering and good causes, but also to connect students. And Rotary Youth Exchange is one of, I think, the most important programs Rotary offers, and it stands as a way to connect youth across the globe and offer them, unique cultural experiences and view, broaden a worldview and create better cooperation and understanding between countries and people. So it was an incredible experience, and I'll show you some photos and I'd love to take any questions anyone has towards the end. So this was to explain myself in French. So who am I? I was born in West St. Paul, in St. Paul, and I grew up there, and I moved to Minnetonka and probably when I was about 8 years old, and I've lived here since. I have 10 siblings, 2 siblings and 8 step siblings. Both of my parents are divorced and remarried. But I lead a pretty normal life, except now I can say that I lived in another country for a year, which has become my entire personality. Before I arrived in Hawaii, so these are photos of me before I arrived. It looked a lot different. This was with North Star at one of our preparation meetings preparing all the outbound students. On the right was 3 on the left, 3 of us. In the right photo were 3 students who went to college from Minnesota. So we have Odin and Sophia who went with me, and they live in, Odin lives in Northfield and Sophia lives in Heath Prairie. But they were kind of my connections. It was great to have, I met a lot of people from across the US, but Minnesota being the best state, of course, it was great to have some connections from my home state, and we grew really close together, and I'll see them again soon. We have just this weekend, Rotary Rebound Weekend, an overnight meeting for all the Rotary students who went outbound from the North Star Rotary District. Okay, so the start of the year was pretty slow. I really struggled with French. I never took French classes. I took German classes at Minnetonka High School. And Belgium was was actually my 6th choice of country. Not that I regret it, but I was very underprepared for French. I struggled a lot with it, especially at the beginning. And it took about 3 months before I really started to be kind of clicked for me, and I started to pick things up very fast. So on the left is me with my first host family. We went to see La Tomia, which is a big atom thing in Brussels, and it was really cool. It was super cool because I got to see Sophia, also from Minnesota there, completely surprised. It was really nice. Then we have on the right the first Rotary meeting of the year. So that was kind of the first time we got to meet all the other exchange students that were inbound in our district. I think in our district, there was probably 60 of us, maybe. We had the 2nd biggest in Belgium. We were not the largest. I think there were about 130 exchange students in all of Belgium, probably. But there are 4 different districts people were in. And so that was really cool because it was just an opportunity to really connect. And that was kind of where I first got to see other kids who were living the same kind of dream as me, right? And kids who were going through the exact same experience as me was really unique. And it was great to just meet these people who became my friends for the rest of the year, and I hope for life. Trips. I took a few trips. On the left was me in Paris. I went with 2 other exchange students and my host family. The girl in the black hair is from Italy. The girl with the red hair is from Mexico. And so I went to Paris. It was my first time outside of Belgium, and so it was really cool to see how easy it was to go between countries. And just to see a different experience. Paris is supposed to be this dream city, and so I obviously had a really high expectation. And it was really cool to see it. On the right was me skiing in the French Alps. Not pictured was me head diving right after, because I'd never skied a mountain before. Ended up scarring my face. It's not very visible now, but I ended up kind of bombing one of the paths, and I fell very hard. That was pretty messy. This was a little bit before. Oh, this is okay. Yeah, so that was probably 20 minutes before I don't know, but I ended up scarring my face. So, but it was fun. It was a great time. I'd never been skiing on a mountain, and it was definitely once in a lifetime experience and super cool. Really beautiful, of course, too, in the French Alps. More Rotary. So on the left was, we had a lot of Rotary events throughout the year. Some more fun, some more proper, and so I got to connect with all these Rotary students throughout the year. The great thing about Belgium is it's such a small country that just about every Wednesday, because in Belgium they have Wednesdays are super short for school. Basically, not all, but a lot of the exchange students would go every day to Brussels, and so we meet up almost every single week, which is definitely a unique experience. I know here in the US, it's way harder to meet with exchange students, 'cause it's so much bigger, but Belgium, it's so tiny, and it's 200 kids or whatever in a super packed small country. It's about 2 hours to anywhere in the country. So we did a lot of traveling, and I got to see all these people all the time. On the left, we did a beach volunteering. We went to a beach and you clean up trash. And that was super cool. There was very messy beach, so it was cool to have some of the more humanitarian and impact and environmental impact of the Rotary rather than just exchange, like interacting with the people. So it was cool to do some volunteering and kind of giving back to the country that was hosting us. On the right, we had actually Rotary parties. And so that was just another opportunity to connect, and we had that with the future outbound students from Belgium. So the kids who are going from Belgium this coming year, and are going to certain countries. We had a party with them, and it was kind of just to connect and to give them some advice and talk about our experience, prepare the next generation of students. So again, it's super difficult, of course. Both these photos are from, we had the last Rotary meeting of the year, and we combined both of the Rotary districts, because there's two, and so we got to meet a lot of Rotary students who have never met before from other districts. And it was super cool, but it was sad because it was the first and last time to meet a lot of them, which is really hard to deal with. It was super difficult at the end of the exchange, of course. It really feels like you kind of create a life and then you have to leave it behind. But I like to think that it's beautiful because you have something that makes you feel that sad, it was worth going through. And so even though it really was hard to say goodbye to all these people, I still keep in contact with a lot of them, and in fact I'm going to see some of them soon. And so it was just super awesome to meet other people, and it's sad to say goodbye, but like I said, it was worth it because I know that I'm happy to have had an experience that made me so sad, right? So I think that's everything in the presentation. So yeah, that's kind of my rundown of my exchange. Of course, I'd love to take questions if we have time, because it's a very broad overview, but
Julie, did they offer an end of experience, like a trip, like a 2-week trip or anything?
yeah, so this is actually really unique, because most European countries have this called a Euro tour, where they go around Europe. And Belgium actually does not. I don't know why. But however, we had trips throughout the year. So we had a trip to Barcelona. I did not go on. So we had a trip to Italy or Greece, which I also did not go on. They were a little bit expensive, but and then we were supposed to have a trip to Prague, but they canceled on us. So I'm just a little bit sour about that. But no, they don't have a proper Euro trip. They have smaller trips throughout the year. All the other European countries do have a tour. They go around all of Europe, and it was cool because we got to meet a lot of those kids when they came through Belgium. We would connect with them, and so I got to meet kids from Denmark who were in Italy, who were in Denmark, who were in Switzerland, who were in Germany. And I got to meet all these kids who were Rotary students in different countries when they came to Belgium. So we had 3 host families, and I had incredible relationships with all of them. I got very lucky. I know a lot of kids who had more trouble with their host families, but I never had any problems, no arguments. So I think I fared pretty well. I think I kind of lucked out. But I like to think also, I like to give myself credit for being adaptable, and working with all the host families to have a great relationship. Yes. Yes.
Well, I have 2 questions. So did you take French classes full time over there? And you were speaking at the end? And number 2, did you speak any Ukrainian or Russian students?
So, questions. I actually did not take any French courses while I was there, besides a French class at school, but that tended to be more like English, it's more literature. I never took any proper French courses, which is interesting because now I feel very comfortable speaking French and understanding, but I kind of struggle to read and write because I never learned like the proper grammar. So it's interesting to see, but no, I've never offered any like French language classes. I only had a French literature class at school, which is the same thing as, you know, any English class here. It's not about the language, but more about the books and media and art. And as for Ukrainians, I did meet a few Ukrainians, but not exchange students. I did meet a lot of Ukrainian refugees though, and a lot of my host families also had hosted Ukrainian refugees, but never exchange students.
Could you comment on the diversity of the student group that you were associating with in terms of gender and color?
Yes, so it was an extremely diverse group. I would say we had probably more girls than guys, but of course we had people identifying. There were transgender exchange students, non-binary, a very large LGBTQIA plus group throughout the Rotary. And as for color, I mean, you had people coming from every country in the world, not every country, but a lot of countries. There was most of the other exchange students were from Latino countries. So Brazil, Argentina, Mexico were I think the 3 largest. We also had a lot from Asia, from Italy, Spain, Finland, the US, Canada. So there were Indonesia, Thailand. So there were kids from everywhere. It was very diverse, both in
Were the students that we sent from the United States a mixture, what was the mixture, diversity and art group?
I would say from the United States as a whole, there was, yes, a very diverse population, both in ethnicity, sexuality. It was very and sex. I would say we had a very large. It was very diverse across the whole US. There were a lot of exchange students from the US. I think probably total 20 to like 24, somewhere in that range. In my district, there were only 5, but in the other branch one, there was 19. So I never got to meet a whole lot of the other Americans, but when I did, there was a very diverse group in all aspects of diversity. Yes. Sorry, what I haven't done before? Right. I would say a lot of my first came with food. The food's very different. I had a policy of I will try everything one time. Because I want to keep an open mind. I'm not big on seafood. They eat a lot of seafood. And I tried oysters. I almost threw up. That would make a video to show everybody. Mussels were super duper popular. And they have a lot of different foods. I ate horse, I ate rabbit, I ate wild boar. It's just amazing that aren't so common in the US. I would not personally try a lot of them, I guess. For me, Belgian food was not spectacular, but it depends. There were some foods I really liked and some foods I really despised. So for me, it was very hit or miss. But like I said, I put myself on a policy of trying everything at least one time to keep an open mind. Other first, I mean, it was my first time really using public transport, which is really awesome, and I've been very fun. I don't like driving very much, but now I'm forced back into the reality that we live in a very car-centric country. And so for me, it was great to go go on a train or whatever and just sleep. Mostly, I can't do that anymore. And then just a lot of traveling to different places. Like I said, skiing in mountains was the first time. I don't know if I do that one again because it was really terrifying. But really fun, really beautiful. And just, I got to see a lot of places for the first time. So I mean, I did a lot of firsts. I can't tell you every single one, of course. Most of them are things I would try again, except for maybe oysters and mussels.
Maybe after the meeting, if you have some more questions, Julie, will you be able to speak around a little bit?
Yeah, of course. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for Rotary Club for all their support and making my exchange year possible. It was really the best of my life, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without this Rotary Club and Rotary as a whole an organization. So thank you very much.
Julian, that was a great report, and we're so happy that you had such a fulfilling year. So congratulations and thank you for those kind words. Today, we'd like to hear from our committee heads. What I think we'll do, we're not gonna have time for breakout sessions or anything like that afterwards. So what I thought we'd do is just have each one of our heads come up and just give a brief update on the purpose of their committee, kind of the key initiatives and what they're looking for in terms of support within the committees. I think it's a great way for either existing members that are in committees and maybe want to take a look at getting involved some other way, or for new members to get involved. And we also have, I think, some leadership opportunities within the committees in terms of succession of some of the leads in these committees here. So we're always looking for next leaders and people that are taking on a role to move these committees forward. So Scott, it seems like I lean into you a lot as first, but I'm going to go right across the organization chart. And why don't you come up and talk a little bit about events and fundraising?
All right, hello again. Yeah, so events, it's kind of, as you know, encompasses most of you here in this room, either from a volunteer standpoint or taking a lead in some of the areas that cover events. There is no real standing event committee, which is different than, you know, DEI that has weekly or monthly meetings. But having said that, we have a lot of key individuals in certain areas that are instrumental to pulling off these large events that we've been doing. I just have a couple of slides if you want to move it forward. The events that we have throughout the year obviously are the 8 concerts in the Commons. In the springtime, we have the Rose Sale. If you're not familiar with that, then you're probably a new Rotary member, and you will be familiar with that. So the Rose Sale is typically spearheaded by what we call our freshman class. So if you started Rotary after March of this past year, we're going to ask you to get involved in the Rose Sale. Last year, we had our new members Greta and Cindy that coordinated that under the guidance of Lisa and Mary. So typically the 2 coordinators from the previous year kind of help some of the new freshman class coordinate the Rose Sale. I can't really speak to the amount of time necessary for that, but it's mostly online sales, and then there's an event where people come and pick up the roses. So that's something, if you're a newer Rotary member in the last year, as we get after January, we'll start planning that in earnest, and we'll be looking for a couple of co-chairs to coordinate that. It's a great way for our freshman class to get into and start meeting some of the other Rotary members, and also kind of get in the groove as far as it relates to planning events and things like that. So that's the road sale. BBB. Brian has been our chair for the past couple of years. And I believe Stephanie, I don't know if she's here, Carlson, she's gonna be serving in that capacity, planning on, that's a large event. And I assist in that, but I really turn that over to Brian and the committee that puts that together. So as the planning for that starts, there's regular meetings to plan for our Burgers and Bingo by the Bay event. Which frankly, in a lot of ways is a lot more complex than the concerts because it also involves gaming and involves bingo. So there's money involved and it's a relatively complex situation to set up, which also requires a lot of volunteers. So I'm sure Stephanie will be looking for additional assistance for the BBB event. That's typically, I think, the first Saturday in May, if I'm not mistaken. And it has been down in Excelsior on the vacant lot there. So that's a big event that we're always looking for assistance in. And then certainly the concerts in the Commons. As you are all well aware of that, and then we have a new event this year, Oktoberfest, and we're well underway in the planning process for that. That's going to be September 30th, Saturday at the Excelsior American Legion. We're co-hosting that event with the Excelsior American Legion. All the proceeds for that will be going to the Hendrickson Foundation, and that's going to be an all-day event from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. involving 3 different bands. It's now been posted on social media. We'll have beer, German food, activities, etc. So we've had a core group of people that's been involved and is involved currently in the planning process for that. And yeah, here's some of the areas within the events that are extremely important. So we have some of our liaisons both with the city. We have Tom Nickel and Charlie Cannon that liaison with the city so that the city isn't getting bombarded from 30 different people with questions. We have certain people that deal with the city on the events that we have. We have logistics people. Those are people such as myself, Gary, Rick Bateson, others that are hauling around trailers, loading and unloading trailers, washing out trailers of beer, setting up banners, which we'll be doing here in about 30 minutes down at the Commons, and really kind of the nitty-gritty hard work that goes with putting these concerts together, setting up power cables, generators, etc. There's a ton of logistics, as you might imagine, in doing these events, which requires a lot of time, frankly, and time during the day, which makes it often difficult for those of you that aren't retired like I am to kind of pull that off. But we're always looking for people, especially if you have a Ford F-250 or higher pickup truck. We have a lot of things, heavy things that need to be towed. I won't go through all that, but as you kind of see, there's a lot of different pieces to the puzzle to put this all together. And we're always looking for assistance. The other key area for us is marketing. I know Matt's our lead in marketing, but that also is a monster as well because we do both digital and print marketing. He's always looking for assistance to get the word out. We're only as successful as our marketing plan to get people to show up at our events. And that's done a great job, but he definitely could use some assistance in putting that together. So that's just a very brief summary of the event section.
Speaking of Matt, why don't you come up, Matt, and talk a little bit about marketing communications and what you need.
Sure. Well, I'm not retired and I didn't have time to do slides because I've been so busy doing marketing. To Scott's point, all of the events, everything that we do, plus the meetings, plus, any beneficiaries of Rotary, all those sort of things, we want to get the message out. And, if you think about all the places that we touch in terms of communities, we want to go that far and further to spread the message. So I did put a document together a while ago with sort of everything that marketing touches, and there's kind of 2 ways to get involved. One is to be on my committee, and we'll definitely find things for you to do. So if you have social media skills or curiosities or project management skills or design or creativity or all those sort of things, they're welcome. The other part is I ask for each individual committee to have a marketing liaison so that we don't have 4 people from each committee reaching out to my committee to say we need to promote this or do that. We try to funnel that down to one person. So if you are interested in marketing, but you're also on 2 other committees, or like Laura, 3 other committees, and still on the marketing committee, but you could take that role for your group. So, you know, there are ebbs and flows. There are times of the year where it's pretty slow and steady, but then there are times of the year like right now where it's really crazy. So, anyway, and we've had Lorna stepped up to be helpful on marketing, so that's great. I've recruited Mary, and I think she's gonna, one way or another, guilt or not guilt, help us out. Lori's been wonderful, so, and Aaron's helping with photos, so anyway, but don't be shy, so, thank you. Oh, and get involved with social media, so when you see a post, share it, and I mean, that's, you all are on the committee for that purpose, so, great, thank you. Yep.
Gary, would you like to come up and talk about youth services?
Gary Groninger, I'm the leader of youth services, and I am retired, and I also don't have these slides for today. So, youth services incorporates a variety of things. Our exchange program, and you just heard from Julian, and we know we had Sandscar here, but did they make you eat a cricket, Julian? Because Laura made Sandscar eat a cricket. Yeah. So Laura Hotfit is our exchange coordinator working with North Star. We also have the Interact group at the high school. Kathleen and I are managing the high school group. Once school starts, we used to meet on Mondays. Now I think we're going to be on Thursdays. We're trying to figure that out. They opened a food show at the high school. That has been their big project this year. It is now starting to steamroll, and a lot of people have said, how can I help? How can I help? Coming up this year, I think we will have more opportunities to do that. And they want to do additional projects besides just the food show. So, I mean, I'm going to the high school at 8:30 this morning to help them pack bags. But we typically have done things like tie blankets. They made sandwiches for homeless shelters. They did bags for Ronald McDonald's house. We will have at least one, if not two food drives this year. So some of the things that I can use help with is people coming up with ideas for projects that these kids can do in an hour in the morning. A lot of people come up with lots of projects they can do over a weekend or out somewhere or support. They, quite frankly, don't have time for that anymore. Their schedules are so busy with their other activities and us. They have projects that we can do in the morning. I also don't have a media liaison, so if somebody's interested in coming in and taking pictures of some of the kids, that would be great. They also sell pop and water at the concerts, and what I really need some immediate help with is not this concert, but the next concert. I need somebody to volunteer the day before the concert or the day of to go grab all the pop and water and bring it down to the concert by 3 o'clock, because I've got a bunch of stuff that week leading up to the concert. I'm not going to be able to do so. But right now I have an entire truck of pop and water. These are the little behind the scenes things that we just do that people are like just miraculously think that stuff shows up. So that's one thing I could really use some help on. And then we also have 2 programs, Camp Ryla, which is a leadership program for the kids. So again, media wise, helping me get that information out, and then Camp Enterprise, which is in the fall, and that's the entrepreneurial program. Not only do they use adults to help run those camps district-wide, we really struggle finding kids in Minnetonka High School that have an interest in going to these programs. Laura and I are constantly pounding on the counselor's door saying, we are really interested in sending these kids for free for a weekend, but they have a lot of opportunities in this school and the kids are really busy. So helping us market that and helping us market the exchange program. We don't have an outbound kid going out next year. We have an inbound child coming in, but we don't have an outbound. So for me, helping us market the parents and the kids is really where we can use some help. Thank you.
Is Larry here? I'm looking at gaming. One thing I will say is that that's a gaming and our pull tab operations. The management of that is a very big part of our club. And we are looking to do some succession planning there with Larry. He's at some point going to transition out of that role. So if you have an affinity to that type of thing or a skill set in that area and want to become a mentee and learn under Larry, we would be looking for some future leadership of that operation. So certainly give that some thought. He's gonna be working on that too, but I wanted to make you aware of that. And then with that, I'm skipping over a couple of people, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna go to international and Meg Lowe.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so this is the our international committee, and basically our responsibility in this committee is to research and vet and select and propose to the board organizations and projects around the world that are having a huge and profound impact in the communities that they serve, so that our club can have a profound impact on our global neighbors around the world. So just for context, this past year, we supported a number of organizations. First of all, we drilled 3 wells in Bolivia for communities that had no access to water prior to that. We built an entire school in South Africa, and we got to name it. We provided 50 tablets for girls in a girls' educational program in Guatemala. Oh, no slides. Okay, and then in addition to that, we'll catch up. We provided medical equipment for a hospital in Mexico. We provided nursing scholarships for students in Haiti. Those are our major programs this year. But in addition to that, we collaborated with other clubs that had projects. And in those we didn't have to do the work, but we supported them and were part of the ultimate impact. So we built a library for a school in Kenya, entire library. We built another water project in Uganda. This was another well that another club sponsored. And then in addition to that, we sent resources for emergency responses to a number of programs. First of all, polio vaccines. We provided funds because our donation was tripled by a foundation. And so we were able to provide 2,000 new vaccinations throughout sub-Saharan Africa for polio. And we provided funds for emergency relief to Uganda, to the Pleasant, Pakistan, and other countries through Shelter Box, which is a Rotary program. So those are the kinds of programs that we did this year. And now we're up to the choosing and selecting programs for this coming year, 23-24. So our goals are, first of all, to finalize the grant process, which we've done. That good grant for people to apply to our club will be posted very soon. Then our committee will review all those grants, we'll vet those organizations, we'll meet with them, and then ultimately we'll prioritize the projects we think where we can have the most impactful humanitarian effect and propose those to the board. We're going to apply for a district grant to leverage our funds and get other clubs to collaborate with us. And then throughout the year, we'll monitor the progress of those projects and then share that information with our club and our communities. That's where we need some marketing help. And then we'd also like to have at least 2 service projects. Now that's a little challenge when we're working with international organizations, but a number of our international organizations have a Minnesota base. So we have some opportunities there, but it'll be a challenge. And then also an international service trip. Right now, we're tentatively planning a trip to Guatemala in February. We'd love everybody to join us on that. And again, our ultimate goal is to raise awareness of the impactful work that we do for our global neighbors and find different ways to engage off of members. So let us know if you want to join us in that work.
Kelly Kiss, would you like to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion? Your committee.
I'm gonna be hopefully brief because I know we're really tight on time. So, but I have some slides. Okay, first tip, my font is way smaller than I thought. I thought a couple of things that I would just do really quick is, actually today, you hopefully felt we had a lot of DE&I already woven into this meeting today. So from Tammy's inspiration, even the highlights that Mark talked about with Suzanne's work, that really gets at the heart of what this group is about. So a couple of things that we put up here in just terms of wins to celebrate what this committee has been involved in. One is we're just continually trying to really learn ourselves, expand our horizons, really enrich our understanding of the DE&I landscape. We really work to advance the relationship with the Rondo neighborhood and community partners in that area. supported the work that Suzanne has really been a champion for in terms of the community core. And I think even one of the things that Mark didn't highlight is, it sounds like that model is really such a success, right? That they're looking for expansion. So that'll create a lot of new opportunities as well. And then one of the other really big successes that the group is really proud of is the work that we did with Best Buddies this last year. So that really started for us as a speaker who came to our committee, helped us really understand that organization and what they're trying to do. And then that culminated in a speaker that came here to the club, helped us understand, and then ultimately being financially sponsored to expand that program throughout the Minnetonka schools. It's going to have such a profound impact on our students and our community, and those families, that really helping them to support the work that they do. So in terms of looking ahead, really what we're focused on is just making sure we can advance DE&I as a core tenant, really embedded into everything we do, from our events, service projects, even our weekly meetings, just making sure that it really is fundamental to this club. And we're expressing inclusion in really everything we do. And then in terms of our ask of you, share your thoughts and experiences. Everyone in this room has experienced our events, our service projects. You have friends and family, members of the community. When you see something that's an opportunity for us to get better, let us know. 2 weeks ago at the concert, I had a great conversation with a woman who's been living with MS for 30 years. And she experienced our concert in a scooter. And I think, to the point that Timmy made, like, the food trucks are really tall and it's really hard to get around. So making sure we understand what we can do. Sorry, I said a frog in my throat this morning, to make that a better experience for everyone. I think just sharing those back to us will be great. And then embed DE&I in the work that you're doing. So we're here as thought partners. If you have a project or an event that you're planning, reach out to us and we'll be happy to partner. So thanks.
Okay, I think we're gonna wrap up, and unfortunately, we didn't get to every committee, but what we will do is we're gonna download these slides and push out to all the members, and Andy's gonna help me with that. Really encourage you to look at those opportunities and to get involved in a committee and support these leaders. I would say, kind of looking here, I know that Colleen Aldred in the finance treasurer role, she is looking for some functional support within that. And if you have some interest in the finance treasury area, there's some opportunities there. Dan Nahr, I know, put together a deck and we will send that out, because that's a very important part of our organization, our local community. Our local committee with that. So with that, we're going to adjourn. Let's have a great night tonight. Stay cool out there, and let's